podcast. We've got some awesome leaders for you guys to talk to from ModOp. Steve Red is the Chief Creative Officer at ModOp and the founder of the renowned creative agency Red Tettemer O'Connell, RTO+P, which joined ModOp with decades of experience touching creative and strategic direction across industries. He leads brand identity, creative storytelling, and campaign strategy with a conviction that advertising should be as intelligent and as engaging as the audience it serves. Eric Bertrand is the CEO of ModOp, an independent private equity-backed platform agency spanning creative, media, tech, and analytics. Since leading ModOp's formation in 2017, he has scaled the organization to over 500 team members through strategic growth and acquisitions, positioning the agency at the intersection of human creativity and advanced technology. He is also the author of Getting Digital Done, which was named a 2024 Transformative CEO by the CEO Forum Group. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, Dylan.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, I know I gave a little bit of a context, but my audience is always interested in how people got to the places that they did in the industry. So maybe if you guys would be willing to give me a little bit of context, maybe contextualize those intros a little bit of, where you guys grew up, what'd you study, and how'd you get into agency world?
Well, let me go first because I'll be shorter and it's less interesting than
I don't know about that.
I grew up in Connecticut and was a finance person. So I grew up and went into the private equity venture capital world earlier in my career and spent about 15 years in that industry. Ended up kind of going off on my own and doing some investments and got involved in a number of marketing advertising businesses before joining the predecessor to ModOp called Eyeball. And so I've kind of been a different route than most folks. I didn't come up through the industry. I didn't come up through creative or through technology. I really came up through a different angle, but have been involved in the industry for almost 20 years now because it's since 2007. So I've learned a few things along the way, and I've obviously ModOp has really been a way to add folks who have tremendous experience and expertise in the industry, and Steve would be one of the groups that we acquired, and that brings that to the table. So with that, Steve, why don't you give a little bit of your background?
All right. You left out of my bio that I believe the only martini is made with gin.
I like it. I'll take it.
This is a very important tidbit. But so I started an agency called Red Tettemer exactly 30 years ago this August.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I know lots of people have heard of it.
Thank you. Pretty ridiculous that it's been that long, but we had a good successful run. I think I always say like we credit a lot of our success to we decided who we wanted to be the day we opened, and we wrote down what we believed in, and we stuck to those kinds of beliefs for all this time, and it guided us to some great places, some great clients, and we were always kind of foot forward on what was going to happen next. We tried to like manifest our own destiny and put ourselves in positions to win, but as you know, probably from talking to other mid-size agencies, even if you have the best intentions and you have the most kind of aggressive spirit in trying to move into whatever technology or platform or mode of telling stories is right at the time, you only have so much you can invest and so much time you can spend. So when we met Eric, it almost felt like the perfect, our puzzle piece perfectly fit into what they were building. They were very tech forward, very focused on, and this is 2.5 years ago. So where AI was then, now it's even more permeated into everything. And that vision and that kind of like motivation and spirit to lean into it and not to run from it or not to be afraid of it or not to change it matched up with us in a perfect way. But they had the infrastructure, they had the investment level, they had the people, they had the the wherewithal to like really put a chip on that square, like really. I think it was out in the press last year. They invested $10 million in it. Like, so to do that kind of like to put that kind of effort and that kind of oomph behind where we all think the industry is going was super attractive to us. So, like I said, we felt like we fit kind of perfectly into where they were going. And in the 2.5 years, I think everybody is kind of like at a place in this, spectrum where they're trying to figure things out to a certain degree. But I will say, and I always say to the folks that came up through Red Tettemer that we would not be in rooms that we have been in the last 2.5 years as Red Tettemer. Like the only way to move forward and to get into the kinds of clients, the kinds of opportunities, the kinds of businesses that we aspire to get to is with a company like that has ModOps size, ModOps influence, ModOps kind of voracious desire to get into this new frontier. So that's a little bit of a more contextual bio, but also like why I think we're here and why we're being successful here.
I love it. Well, I think it's important to kind of tell the story of the M&A side of the industry. What are kind of storied creative agencies like Red Tettemer looking for in partners, and what would be a valuable acquisition conversation beyond just the economics and the legacy planning and all those things. I think it's a pretty interesting story. So thank you for that context. So $10 million in investment, from an internal capabilities perspective is it's the first time I've heard numbers associated with it, especially from an agency group. So I imagine that was meaningful both from a investment perspective, talent, and time. You guys recently unveiled your proprietary facing AI to the public, a platform called Orion, which you guys are talking about the future of AI as it pertains to creative agencies and sitting inside agency ecosystems. I'd be curious if you could maybe give a little bit of backstory on Orion. How did it come to be? And how has the industry been perceiving it since you guys unveiled it to the world officially, publicly facing, a few weeks back?
Well, I think that for us, we believe that data is where all of this comes from, right? It all comes from the data, all types of data sources, right? The creative world, at the end of the day, has it's incited by data, and the more data you have from the more data sources, the more you can be really important and relevant to your clients and to what you're trying to do. So we built this data ecosystem called Orion. It really, because we built ourselves through acquisition, we've acquired experience and expertise in all these different companies. So we have experts in all these different areas of marketing and advertising. And we are able to then overlay this technology, this data ecosystem across that. And it allows you to get insights and connect all the dots together from the various different initiatives that you have. So as an example, if you're looking to build out a brand campaign or a new product rollout on the creative side, you can use the data, historical data from all of the campaigns you've done historically, all of the different, your CRM information, your events that you've done, and all the data that's coming from that to incite that new brand campaign, that new product launch. And it allows you then to take the data from that new product launch and that new campaign and put that back into your data ecosystem, so you can incite your events and you can incite your social media and your influencers, and all that together as an ecosystem. So we've been rolling this out for a while. It's like I said, it's kind of the Orion name and the branding is new, but we've been building this for several years and been using it for several years, both internally to really drive our own adoption of AI and data internally, so we built a brand agent very early on. We built a social media engine very early on to allow us to use those insights for our client work and for our clients. And now we've kind of branded it as Orion. We've rolled it out, and we've added a number of agents, hundreds of them actually, to be able to drive value from that data into all these different areas. So that's really what's happened. We've had, to Steve's point, we've had tremendous. We're in rooms that I'm surprised we're in. Like I'm very surprised that we would be invited to be in with companies that are massive companies that are now not just, because I think at the end of the day, our philosophy is that you are building. This is all based on people, right? It's not technology for technology's sake. It is all about the expertise and the experience of the people that we have, that this technology allows them to have basically superpowers, right? It allows them to do things they could never do before, because you are able to look at vast amounts of data and put them into your own purview. And so when you look at what the holdcos have done, they've kind of built these really monolithic systems, and they're saying, here, we have this system that you can basically plug into if you want to. Ours is different. We have a system that allows you to be very specific to each client need and build agentic solutions that are very specific to the clients. And so, and our expertise and experience with those clients. And so it's a different model. And so I think that's what we're seeing. That's one of the reasons why we're in some of these rooms that we're in, is because it's not a one size fits all. You got to use our the way it works or it doesn't go. We are building it based on the needs of the client specifically.
Yeah. That's interesting. So it's almost a framework and a base layer, but you're doing massive amounts of customization and really, building and training these AI agents for each brand partner that you work with. Each engagement looks different.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on it just from a creative guy's perspective.
Yeah.
Like I've spent most of my years in this business, like trying to find that one insight in mountains of research or data, or to build a creative idea off of, and for years that took days, maybe weeks, to sift through all the data that's out there and arrive at that kind of crystal clear insight that could drive an idea. With Orion and all that data kind of accessible but also actionable, and to be able to get through it, and we call it domesticating data, like domesticating it that you can actually use it. It's no good if it's just like flying past you or flying all over the place. So to be able to actually tame it and find those insights literally in minutes, in the time that it used to take weeks or months, is so intoxicating for a creative, and you hear lots of, with good cause, lots of trepidation about AI, and is it going to take people's jobs, and is it going to lessen, is it going to have clients saying charge us less because it takes less time? Like there's all those kinds of things that have to be worked through, but ultimately we say, and this is somebody's quote that I'm going to probably bastardize, but I kind of love the spirit of it. It's not the machines that are going to win, and it's not the humans that are going to win. It's going to be the most audacious and creative humans using the machines in the most audacious and creative ways that are going to win. And I feel like we have a group of 400 creative and audacious people using machines in ways that people aren't using them, because it's accessible through this infrastructure, and it's always with us, and it feeds other disciplines. So what happens in the creative department also informs what's happening in the experiential team or the PR team or the digital team. So it's all very fluent and it's all very accessible and it's all very actionable through Orion. So
the data strategy essentially travels, so it's not locked in silos where it's only actionable against the team or the discipline who's using it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I love that. All right, I want to step into the M&A world, and Eric, your background as a PE operator and somebody who's now been doing this inside of agency land for 20 years. What's your current investment thesis? What are you looking for when you're thinking about making an acquisition? Is it, great statues like the ones that Steve has collected over the years? Is it capability? Is it scale and revenue? Could you give us some of the things that would excite you? Because there's a lot of agency owners that are thinking about legacy planning and expansion that listen to the show and would love to know, what types of companies are a good fit for the ModOp world.
Well, we've historically been focused a little bit around expertise, like what particular expertise agencies have. And so I think, today, recently, we've looked for performance marketing or digital media agencies, especially ones with B2C experience. We've been looking at that as a focal point. Groups that have social media or influencer experience. We have that in-house as well, and have done a great job with that. But that's an area that's expanding, and we believe there's more opportunity there. Obviously, any groups that are, we actually have a pretty good B2B practice. So we like groups that are B2B that have some really great clients. I think the through line throughout any of the acquisitions is they have to be working with clients that are at least large middle market challenger type brands to Fortune 500. So we don't look at companies that are more regional or smaller client base. It's really enterprise level clients. And that's important because the clients we have are all enterprise level. So you have to have a certain level of sophistication to be able to work with those clients. And so that's important. From a size range, they're usually somewhere between 30 and 100 people, something around that, and then you can kind of extrapolate what the revenue is for those types of companies. But we're still active and looking. We historically have been one of the most active companies when it comes to M&A. And so really, even if it was outside of those areas, if there was another area that was of interest, had the right mix, had the right folks involved and wanted to be part of something that's trying to include technology and grow and drive value for clients, then we'd be interested in having a conversation.
Very cool. Steve, you talked about the idea that clients want to move from AI experimentation to sustained competitive advantage. Where do you think most brands are getting stuck right now, from experimentation to moving into really thinking about it as, a linchpin to their business strategy and a competitive advantage to maybe move them from, 2 or 3 in the category up the ladder?
Yeah. I mean, I like I said in the beginning, I think one of the challenges is everybody is kind of at the beginning. Everybody's at the starting to a large degree. And so, and I think ModOp is further along the curve than a lot of the clients that we work for, or, let alone other agencies. But I think a lot of the clients are kind of more shy, more trepidatious about moving quickly because there's so many things to consider. And it's, the size companies that we work for, there's, everything that AI offers as opportunities, there are dangers that come along with it. And when you're dealing with data at that size and that sort of scale, clients are worried. So I think that the challenge is to kind of be the beacon in the in the fog, and like to try and be a company that is not just pushing AI on our clients, but actually like guiding them into the places where they can see the return on investment, where they can see the opportunities, where they can see the speed to bold ideas. And with different clients, it's different things. But I think we do a really good job at kind of curating our AI experience. And this goes back to like Orion being a more bespoke kind of platform than other agencies, curating that AI experience to each client's desire and wherewithal to get in. So like we're not pushing one formatted AI approach to our clients. We're like, we look at each one of our clients and see where they are, see where the opportunities are. And I think we're able to like map our approach around their desire and their kind of needs and their challenges, if that makes any sense. Like it feels,
yeah.
I think we're able to make them comfortable in whatever level they want to get into. And we're very able to like describe, okay, if we do it this way, then you're going to be able to see these kinds of results. And again, back to kind of domesticating things and making things simple and clear. That's a big part of, I think, how we do business.
I think being consultative, 100%. I agree with Steve. You have to be consultative. You have to kind of apply what digital transformation in a lot of ways to some clients. The clients are on a spectrum of folks that are using AI in different areas. We've rolled out a GEO program, a generative engine optimization program, where we have a free audit on our site, but we also have a full audit, and we have an entire process to roll out our GEO initiative. And we've talked to companies that are Fortune 10 all the way through middle market brands, and you'd be surprised that even some of the bigger ones are at a level of AI that they're not really understanding even what GEO is. Like why you need GEO? Why do you need to know that when you're typing in their product set into Claude that it's going to come up in the LLM? So it's an interesting time. Steve's right. We're in the beginning of it, and it's a lot of the spectrum is vast and surprising in certain ways. And we need to be consultative. We need to be the beacons to help drive them and help them understand why they should be looking at some of these things. We do need to make sure governance, from the beginning, governance and compliance have been really big for us to make sure that we don't have any things. But something like a GEO program, it's very safe. You are trying to help them make sure that they are coming up in the major engines for what their product set is or what they should be known for. And if they're not, and their competitors are, that means they're losing business for sure.
Yeah. And I see a lot of things is just, sometimes it's not even that you don't come up in the engines, you come up wrong, or you come up.
That's even worse. That's another.
Yeah, like yes. Attributing capabilities to your products that they don't have, or pricing that doesn't match, and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that that GEO tool is a perfect example of what I was trying to describe. It's like, to Eric's point, a lot of clients haven't even heard the term GEO.
Right.
Tool that not only makes it easy to understand in 5 or 10 minutes, you get a really easy to read out that points to specific things that you need to look at. It's like, it's just easy peasy, and it almost demystifies the whole thing just by going through that exercise. And then of course there's a deeper dig that we can provide and more services to actually optimize the things that need to be optimized. But just that initial kind of like light bulb that happens with that tool is part of helping people understand that, it is big and hard to figure out, but with this company and the tools and advice that we offer, it's not so scary to walk in.
Do you think that's going to be a continuation of how agency new business will be developed these days, when we're living in an age of vibe coding and minimum viable product? Is it, having lots of things on your website where brands can kind of, flirt with you by connecting some part of their ecosystem to your ecosystem, and then they talk, and then it shows how you see the world, or an insight that you can unlock through the way you've thought about technology that then leads to, okay, like this is something worth exploring?
I think that there's maybe that may be it, where we go, and I think we're starting to see a little bit of that. And that our GEO audit, as an example, free audit on our site, is an example of maybe that extension and those kind of things happening. I do think, though, that AI in pitching and kind of new business development is massive, right? Because when you go back to creative, and Steve can talk to this, we just had a pitch recently with a client, and they asked for some creative, right? And so you normally would maybe put up some boards or put up the script, kind of give them an idea of what you're thinking about, but you're not going to do a production. You're not going to spend $500,000 or $1 million to do a full length production. But with AI and generative AI in particular, you can now bring that to the pitch and show them what you can do. And we did that, and I saw it and it blew me away. I was like,
it's insane.
that was amazing. It was amazing, and it shows them exactly what we can do, and it was great. It was great.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
We just using AI, and this is exactly what Eric's saying. Like, as proof of concept, it's incredible. And right now, AI isn't used as in final production or in final execution for all sorts of reasons. People kind of push against it. It's, there are all sorts of things that make it not right for final production. But for proof of concept, and for allowing a client to not take a leap at all, like they see exactly what it's going is invaluable. And to be able to, a number of times now we've taken, a spot to a client in, in the space of 3 days, from concept to executing it in AI, and been able to get buy-in in that amount of time, and then get into production in 2 weeks, which again, that process would be months long in the old days. But I think just the fact that they can see it for their own, with their own eyes, they don't have to like imagine what it's going to be like. They don't have to sift through storyboards. They don't have to listen to me droning on in a meeting about is just so powerful that it's changing things like so dramatically.
We had another pitch come up about a couple months ago with a client, and we were able to build kind of what you were talking about a little bit earlier, instead of maybe being on our website, but we were able to actually build an agentic solution prior to the meeting, where we were able to link their CRM, Salesforce implementation, with their backend kind of data from what would be their ERP system. We actually didn't link it, of course, because we didn't have access to it, but we were able to basically show that we could link to that ERP system, their customer-facing system on that side, as well as their experiential and events that they were doing. And we built it, and we could actually show it in the pitch meeting. Like, it was almost like an MVP as a pitch. It was amazing. And it's like those kind of things, to Steve's point, they don't have to dream about what it could be. They can actually see it in action. And it makes it so much easier for them to understand the power of what it can be,
and buy it,
and then buy it.
I love the software agentic, vibe coding MVP thing. I think it's awesome, because it's like you said, you're like custom designing solutions for clients, and they can kind of see how it works before they buy it. Steve, I wonder, on the creative side, when you're doing a spot. I recently saw an agency, I don't remember if it was a client or an agency, but somebody put up the AI presentation that led to the sell of a piece of work. And it was frame for frame, the exact same execution. The actors were different. The production looked different versus the AI composite and the end product. But as far as the storyline, and like the actual scenes that made up the spot, they were pretty spot on. I'm curious, as a creative, does that box you in at all when you get to production, where you don't have as much freedom to try things when you kind of like show up to production? You're like, man, I got my shot list. I know exactly the things I knock out. Is that a good thing? Or, it might save money. I think it definitely sells an idea faster because it de-risks the creative process from the client side. But I wonder, as a creative, do you feel at all stifled by that? Or is that empowering to have a more of a focused guardrail and know exactly what your client wants?
Yeah, I don't think we feel stifled. I think there have been instances where we've shown a spot developed with AI and then gone into production, and the spot is so pitch perfect, from the casting to the music to the location, like everything is so well done, that we've literally like cast people that look like the AI.
Right.
I mean, that it was just impossible to get away from it because it was so right. And then being on set and like giving them direction, I found myself like giving them direction to try and get them closer to what the AI actor did. So it's a little weird sometimes because even I get demo love, and that used to be something that we'd preach to clients: don't get demo love. It's not going to look exactly like this. Now, yeah, it's going to look pretty much exactly like if we wanted to. So that's one thing. But on the end, and so I don't know if that's like really curtailing creativity. I don't think it is. It's just maybe it focuses you a little bit more. But the thing that I think is really incredible as a creative person is, again, like in the old days, and the old days are like 2 years ago. You do a rip-o-matic, and we would do, you rip footage from wherever and you put it to music and you put a voiceover on it and you go in and say, this is the tone of voice. This is the spirit of what it's going to be like. But you couldn't really do anything conceptual. Now you can show them exactly the story you want to tell and exactly the kind of actors you want to put in it and exactly the kind of music you want to have. And exactly, like everything is so doable. And I just saw Odyssey last week. You can like imagine things that you couldn't sell before, like you can imagine scenes and create them in AI and say, this is what we want to shoot. Where before you could draw it on a storyboard, or you could make an animatic or something. But to really sell an over-the-top scene or an over-the-top kind of like story was next to impossible. And it all relied on description and then ultimately, like we keep saying, like taking a leap of faith that it's going to be what you described. Now they don't have to take that leap of faith. And so I think ultimately, for me personally as a creative, it's opened up like whole new ways of thinking. It's
really cool. On that note, you talk about, literally directing the actors to be more like the AIs and the composites.
Yeah.
Why do you think clients are not just willing to use the AI version as the spot? Is it ethics? Is it legal? Is it that it just looks, 99% real, but that 1% is enough for the human brain to question what they're seeing and create backlash? Why do you think clients why not just skip that whole process of going from proof of concept to finished output?
Yeah, because consumers don't want it.
Yeah, interesting.
I think clients would, but consumers don't. I mean, and there is immediate pushback on practically every AI execution. And some of them out there, I'm like, man, that's pretty good. But consumers, there's just not an appetite for it yet. And I think that has a lot to do with what you were saying, Dylan. Like, there are ethics issues to be figured out. There are, you are taking away jobs possibly now. So until those kinds of things are worked out, I think there's going to continue to be a pushback from the general public on final execution. So like we've been talking about, I think it's incredibly valuable as a proof of what you want to do and a way to show it to the client or share it with testing groups or whatever. But as a final execution, probably not for a while.
Interesting. Do you think is it instinct that we can just watch the AI versions and sense something that's off, or is it more cultural, like you said, like the Gen Z kids that are booing Eric Schmidt at a commencement graduation speech? Like,
Yeah.
is it animal, or is it cultural, or a little bit of both, do you think?
I think more and more people are wary of it. In the beginning, when I forget the platforms where you could like make yourself look like a hero standing on a mountain.
Oh yeah, the trading card stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, this is cool. But now, as it gets more and more prevalent, people are just really looking for it. And so, yeah, I think certainly the wired generation and it'll be AI natives will be able to spot it before I will, but everybody's getting pretty savvy.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, Eric, let's talk about adoption. So, you have over 95% of ModUp employees already using the Elevate engine, and over 700 AI agents deployed on behalf of clients. How did you drive such high internal adoption across creative and strategic teams without having some of the pushback things that we're talking about? Folks worried about their job being taken away, or that you're training models to replace them. It seems like you guys are pretty ubiquitous with the use cases already.
Yeah. So to say there was no pushback is definitely not. There was pushback. But I think that I think that it's a process, right? I think it's a process, and I think that we started several years ago as our journey, and we made a concerted effort to ensure that our folks were getting familiar with the technology, understanding the technology, using it in their everyday workflows. It took time before that happened. I think that the agentic, solutions being rolled out, or being able to build agentic solutions, was interesting because people could then actually see what they could automate from their own roles, like things that they weren't really in love doing anyways, and they're now that, I can automate this, and I can not have to worry about this, and I can now elevate to a more strategic level of thinking for my role. And those are the kind of folks that we want at the company, the kind of folks that we have at the company that have been growing, and over time the adoption has really gone up. And I think you did see a little bit of a uptake when the agentic solutions kind of rolled out. And so now I think we are in a position of I think it's like 98% or 99% use AI on a daily basis. And so some of that could be basic, just using, basic stuff. Others are using pretty advanced, building their own advanced agents for their own workflows, obviously using the agentic solutions that we have for clients, et cetera, and helping to build some of the things around around Orion. So it's a journey. And I think everybody, to think that people are going to use AI and use it without, for clients when they haven't used it themselves, that's not going to happen. They need to understand it and use it themselves. They have to be able to be familiar and comfortable with it before you're ever going to use it for a client.
Yeah, the agentic thing, the training is really interesting because, some people pushed back when these training agents showed up because they felt like it was like a big brother, right? Like keystroke monitoring, time card management, are you being active, or are you like going to the gym on your lunch hour or whatever? But as people are seeing that these agents, as they're training them, and then they're getting time back on things that used to be considered tedious, then they almost buy into the productivity increase because it's getting rid of boring things or tedious things.
Well, to your point, I mean, we built an agentic solution for time tracking.
Wow.
So one of the things, we went right to it because that's one of the things, people hate doing it, right? They don't do it on time, they hate it. And it takes time and energy to do. So we built an agent that allowed you to use your calendar and some of the things you were working on, and it allows you to do automated time tracking. It could potentially reduce from an hour a week to 5 minutes if you use it properly. So that's an example of where automating something that nobody likes really doing, and it can really add time back that they can use for things that they are going to enjoy much more for, trying to help their clients with other initiatives and building their own agent for something else. So it's those are the examples of where I think it can be really valuable.
All right. Steve, as co-chief creative officer, how do you see AI agents altering the creative process? You talked at the beginning of the show about the domestication of data. I love that idea. The idea of you can take like massive reams of data and now synthesize them into basic insights. I think the other thing that's interesting is, you're compressing those timelines so you can trust that you have the whole picture faster. So you're not worried about like, oh, my focus group isn't until 2 weeks. I won't be able to figure the thing out until then. How does automated execution enhance creative risk taking? And does it require new safeguards to protect brand voice?
I think what I always say is I never have to wrestle with a blank page again. And whether it's coming up with an idea or whether it's writing an email or writing a strategy brief, like sitting in front of, and I'm sure all of us had that feeling of sitting in front of a computer screen and just like, okay,
where do I start?
Where do I go from here? So, and make no mistake, I mean, this has been my living for a long time, and I love it. I love advertising. I love creating ideas and telling stories. But probably like most creative people, I'm a huge procrastinator. I need pressure to like make me work. I need a deadline like crashing down on me to make me start doing something. And like, I just don't have that pressure anymore. And I don't see it as a crutch. I see it like, I kind of see it as like, I have a junior creative that's never going to fight back, is always going to listen to my direction, will work any time of day or night, will provide me with a starting point that I can take and, do what I need to do with it, and it's still, for me, it still involves the same amount of like thought power to get the idea to great, because I don't think what AI gives you is ever great. I think it's good, and it definitely has gotten better since I started using it on the reg, but it's never the thing. And if you go into it thinking like it's not going to be the thing, it's not going to be the ultimate, it's probably not going to be unique because it's based on stuff that's happened or some stuff that's been made. But
total collective sum of the universe.
It's a starting point that is like way further than you had when you just like sat there in front of the blank computer screen, And so that's the major change that I've seen. And it's not about like being faster at getting to the, faster at getting to execution or, like any of the efficiency stuff. I don't think is important to a creative person, but like that initial kernel of an idea that it can give you is like really powerful.
Very cool. Eric, through Transform, ModUp helps clients build custom AI capabilities inside of their own organizations. Going back to the idea of employees, training agents to become more productive. Do you ever worry about empowering clients to do agency work themselves through AIs? Or should the same thinking be applied that when you make a client more efficient, it frees them up to do more strategic and exciting work with you as an agency?
Yeah, I think so. I still think the norm of there's reasons why you hire agencies and why you've hired marketing folks over the last 100 years. That's not going to change. You need the expertise and the experience of these folks. Your clients should do what they're good at, right? And they should be looking to use AI to automate their own processes that they need for their own businesses. But I think it allows the agencies are just, it's kind of like again, I think it's giving an agency that you've had in the past. Now you have superpowers with the agency. The agency can give you better insights, higher ROI. It can add more value to what you're doing, what you've always been doing with these agencies than in the past. And so there are some, I think you've seen a little bit of a trend where people have thought, oh, I can just, again, which comes and goes with all these technologies that have been rolled out over the last 30 years. But I think that people have already started to pull back. They're already seeing, oh, there's a lot of cost. That when they allow everybody to use AI, and especially on the marketing side, now they're starting to see a lot of costs from the LLMs, and they're like, "Oh, how do we control that cost?" It's because they don't have an outsourced group that is bearing that risk and that responsibility with the expertise and experience that the people have that have been working with them for a long time. So, I think it's always a risk more in the short term that folks think they can do this and they bring it in-house versus what I think will be long-term. They're going to work with the experts that are good at doing this, that are using the right tools for their business. And in the long run, it'll come back to be a net positive for agencies.
I love that idea of like, if you just unleash AI on your entire team, then everybody's just burning through tokens like nobody's business, and
That's right.
not knowing what to do with it, and just kind of that there's an efficiency component that's very important, not only for a cost perspective but energy and all those things. So
yep.
All right, Eric, this one's for you as well. You guys have mentioned that Orion has already generated over $3 million in value. How do you measure marketing ROI and agency value now that speed and operational efficiency have been drastically accelerated? Are there new ROI metrics to measure the productivity gains or the enterprise gains of AI as it proceeds to rolling out the Orion platform?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty complex question that we'll see over time, like how this evolves. I do think that I think from a client perspective, they're going to see, I think it's the ROI value that they should be looking at more so than efficiency or cost gains, because I think that, there are some opportunities to do, I guess to Steve's, like what Steve was talking about earlier. If you can come to a client with 3 different or 4 different examples of creative where before you would only come with 1. Right. And so really, it's not that you've created efficiency in the one that you brought to the table. It's now you have more diversity to bring other examples of opportunities from the creative perspective. So it gives you more breadth of what you can do. It also allows you to be more precise around ROI. So you can try to drive better value from ROI. I think you will see ROI gains and efficiencies and things like in GEO. If you don't have a GEO program, and you start losing market share because your competitors do. And so therefore, when somebody's looking up a very specific product that you might sell, and you're not coming up on that list, you're automatically out of the opportunity to be there. So I think it's more about kind of what gets brought to the table versus purely being able to look at efficiencies or cost savings over time. So we'll see though. I think this is going to evolve, and you're going to see how adoption comes in from an AI perspective, and depending on how that adoption rolls out, you will see different metrics and different things being measured. But measurement is also a huge part of it. If you can't measure it, then you're not going to be able to know what the efficiency gains are. So you have to be able to measure it.
Yeah, you have to be able to have a way to baseline an index. All right. Well, Eric, Steve, absolutely fascinating. I think it's always super exciting when you hear a story about a really cool, tech first, technology and innovation first agency, teaming up and joining forces with a historic creative agency. I think the Accenture Droga 5 thing maybe kind of gave people a lot of maybe a lot of cause for questioning back in the day, and now it seems probably more relevant than ever. I think that was a foreshadowing of kind of where the world was headed, and it sounds like you guys have an amazing partnership. And Eric, it sounds like you have plans to do a lot of other exciting things through ModUp and the group. So if brands or folks at home want to follow along and check out either of what you guys are up to, where do you want people to stay in touch, and where would you like to direct the audience to learn more?
They can come to the website. Obviously, check out our free GEO audit if they would like. It's always fun to kind of interact, to your point earlier, interact with folks. Our LinkedIn presence is pretty significant. Our social media presence is as well. So any of those areas, would love to have them come and connect with us.
Awesome.
I'll give you my mobile number. No.
Steve's mobile number is 215.
Right. Get ready.
I do live in the 215. Just hit me up through the website.
Let's go. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Well, really appreciate you spending some time walking us through your backgrounds, what you guys are building with Orion and the ModUp agency platform. If you are watching the show for the very first time, don't forget to give us a follow or a subscribe. You'll see amazing thought leadership from CMOs and marketing leaders and agency folks on a fairly regular basis. So definitely tune in for more. If you give us an honest review on whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening on, that's how we find a larger audience organically. So go ahead and do that. And if there's a brand marketer out there somewhere in the world who's trying to figure out all this AI craziness and is looking for the equal parts, right brain, left brain, the strategy and innovation, and also the creativity that these guys both bring to the table, or maybe a entrepreneur who you think would enjoy the conversation that I had with Eric and Steve today, maybe for somebody from agency land that's thinking about their legacy planning and joining forces with bigger groups, don't forget to share the show. And with that, I will wish you guys a great afternoon. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Dylan.